Mea tutai kia koutou aku rangatira tēnā koutou. E matua pita nunui te mihi me tako aroha ki a koe, me tō hoa a tāre ana, mō tō rā, mō tō kōrero whakamutunga nō reira. Nunui te mihi ki a koutou me o koutou whānau. Mr. Speaker, it formally recognises what we, or most of us in the House, have always known, and that is that the status of the language is a taonga, is a treasure. So what it really does is just formalises that. So in terms of control, in and of itself, it's not going to have any more Māori speakers on the 31st of August or whenever. So it doesn't do that. But what it does do is give the ability to mātāwai, the ability to put a few things in their places so that there is a development of a strategy that, one, not only keeps the language alive but goes from strength to strength. 27 years ago, what was seen as a great day by Māori language enthusiasts, and that was really a forced piece of legislation on the then government. And I think that looking back on it, what the government tried to do, both with the Māori Language Act of 1987 and the Broadcasting Act of 1989, and even Māori Television Service in 2003, was to push things along. Now, Mr. Speaker, the percentage of the percentage of people speaking the Māori language since then, since the establishment 27 years ago, hasn't actually increased a hell of a lot. It just hasn't. In fact, the number of people that are speaking Māori, or the more people that are speaking Māori today, have actually come from initiatives outside of those pieces of legislation, namely the Kohanga Reo and Kura Kaupapa Māori. And if we needed to turn to anybody with a hell of a history in the establishment of those two forms of language education, we need to turn our heads and me to Matua Pita for all of his work, and all of the whānau that have been involved since those days. With any organisation, you have to keep up with technology, you have to keep up with the times. You can't just sit there and expect that because it was a good idea in 1987 or a good idea in 1945, there's going to be a good idea in the year 2014. And we've seen that with the change of technology. And I think that even the new technology, and I've heard people talking about the use of technology, is just around the corner if we just let it happen, if we just get in behind it and made it happen. And I think Te Mātāwai is one of those bodies that will have or play a major part in enhancing new technology. It's also about taking TV and radio and going to the next level, not just a box in your living room or a wireless on the bench in the kitchen. Sir, we are talking about 4G. We are talking about the apps that are available to all of our young people out there. And now I'm going to deviate away from government policy, because it's my personal point of view that the only real way we are going to have what my whanaunga and colleague Kelvin Davis says that he wants is by having compulsory Māori language in schools. And I know it's a thought that most New Zealanders don't wish to think about. but have a look at the success of the Welsh language. Have a look at the success of countries that are bilingual. And I'm not talking about from 0 to whenever you leave. I'm talking about 0 to 16, exactly the way the Welsh do it. And I'm not talking about introducing it tomorrow. But what I'm saying is that why don't we use this as a catalyst to come up with that plan that in 10 years' time, in 2024, we are ready to go. We've done all the work before. We've nutted out how many teachers we're going to need, what sort of resources we're going to have, what we might need, and then in 2024 or whenever. But there has to be a date in the future. There has to be a date to work to introduce compulsory Maori language in schools. It'd do wonders for this nation's belief that it is a bicultural nation. It'd do wonders for race relations. It would do wonders for our ability to talk to people of other cultures. And when you learn a second language, or even a first language, it's easier to learn the next one and the next one. I've met children around the world in 15 years of being a politician or an MP that can speak 6 or 7 languages. And they're so comfortable with jumping from English to Arabic to French. It's just amazing. And I firmly believe that this is where the nation should go. The last point I want to make is the notice of motion that has been put forward by my colleague, the Honourable Nanaia Mahuta. I can't support that, but what I can support is giving it to the Select Committee. And the Select Committee's, the first submission that they should hear from is the tribunal. And in fact, you could actually eventually see the tribunal playing a bigger part in all legislation that goes before the Māori Affairs Select Committee. Just as we ask the Audit Department, the Office of the Auditor General, to give us a steer on a number of financials that come before us in financial reviews. So let's not cut off the ability of the Select Committee to actually do its work. Call for the initial the submission from the tribunal itself, and let that be part of the process of seeing this bill through, if it ever goes through. My major disappointment is the Minister that has introduced this is not going to be here, and nor am I, to see the whole process work out, because I think it's going to be a good one, and I think that we should take it on board, not be scared, but let's really have a crack at this as a nation. Kia ora.
The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Mr. Speaker, first of all, I want to apologise to Peter Sharples and Tariana Turia for not being able to hear later on their valedictories. As a matter of respect, I'd like to have been here. But fortunately, we got caught up in a double booking for a charitable fundraiser.